The next few episodes aren't really an arc, but I like to consider them to be Ryo's, Kyo's, and Tomoyo's arcs, since they're featured pretty prominently in them. There isn't much going on as far as plot goes for these episodes, so I guess I'll just talk about the characters. I said before most of the female cast wasn't very good, and the Fujibayashi sisters are a good example. Ryo is honestly a completely worthless character. First of all, she has no personality. You might say she has a shy personality, but that's really only occasionally with Tomoya. She holds plenty of normal conversations with him, other people, she seems to have plenty of friends, and she's the class representative or whatever. Those don't seem like things a shy person would do or be. The show also never shows why Ryo likes Tomoya. She just does, and that's it. Ryo may as well have been replaced with a piece of cardboard. They're about the same in regards to feeling like an actual person. They also never explain why Kyo likes Tomoya, but at least she has enough of a personality to make you actually care about her. Though the show tries to push that she has an aggressive personality, it's not consistent. She has just as many normal conversations with people as she does aggressive encounters. It'd be more correct to say that she's volatile, or she has a short fuse. That and she's got enthusiasm and confidence. It's just too bad that it seems like she doesn't have a life outside of Tomoya. Think about it, what is Kyo doing when she's not either with Tomoya or at home with her sister? You never know because the show never says. There's even a scene where she says she can't do something because she'll be busy doing stuff. What stuff? Skiing? Rollerblading? The world will never know. Now, I hope I don't have to explain why it's important for a character to have a personality, so I won't. Rather, I'll explain why it's important to show that the girls like Tomoya. You see, due to the fact that these various girls like him, there's supposed to be some very small tension going on, so that at the least, you'll feel bad for the girls that don't win his affections. If you're simply told that a girl likes him, it becomes a plot point rather than something genuine about the character. So when they don't end up winning his affections, you couldn't care less. They even try to make it all dramatic and they cry, but you don't feel sad because the characters lost something they don't even seem to need. At best, they were simply physically attracted to Tomoya, but that just makes the fact that they didn't end up with him a good thing. Now they can actually find someone they genuinely like. At least the two male characters are well written. Tomoya is the delinquent and troll with a heart of gold, and Sunahara is the delinquent, idiot, and clown with a heart of gold. They honestly carry the show since most of the female cast is so lackluster. However, if you noticed, I said most of the female cast. That's because there's one character that's actually handled well. Yep, that'd be Tomoyo. She has a personality, has a life outside of Tomoya, and we're actually shown how she falls for him. Tomoyo's a vigilante, she's confident, tries to help out people where she can, like how she patrols during the Founders Festival for troublemakers, but at the same time she's trying to be seen as more feminine. It's not the most complex character personality or struggle ever, but it's very solid. As for life outside of Tomoya, you know that she's working towards becoming the student council president. So you can assume whenever she's not on screen, she's doing work to make that happen. You even get to find out later that she wants to join in order to save some cherry or sakura trees, and why she cares about them. Again, nothing overly complex, but still very solid and hits all the check marks. The way she falls for Tomoya is actually decently subtle, a word I didn't think he had in their dictionary. They occasionally chatted for a bit whenever Sunahara was being stupid, but later on Tomoya actually saves her from being recruited by the judo club captains. Tomoya was impressed that he stood up to them, and while talking with him, realizes that he's a pretty nice guy. At this point, she basically considers them to be friends. Tomoya is most likely thinking the same thing. The next episode, she tries to be helpful by waking him up to get him to school on time. When she goes to talk to him about being tardy during lunch, Kyo shows up and takes him away due to a previous promise. Sunahara then asks Tomoyo if she's interested in Tomoya. She says that that's not the case, but then after thinking for a second considers that it actually might be a possibility. From there, she continues to hang out with him and wake him up, and her feelings for him grow along the way. If Sunahara hadn't asked her what he did at that one lunch, she may very well not have developed feelings for Tomoya. She just saw the relationship as being friends, and Sunahara is the one that planted the idea of romance in her head. Due to that, it actually happens. Honestly, I think that was extremely clever. It's just too bad the rest of the female cast couldn't have gotten the same level of development and such. And now we finally reach the last arc, Nagisa's. Oh boy, is there a lot to say about her character and the way she was handled in regards to the plot. I hate Nagisa. She's annoying. I said way back at the beginning that I have a bias towards characters that end their sentences with this, but Nagisa is annoying for more reasons than just that. Her personality is just the annoying kind of stupid. She's not fun to watch. She makes me sigh with almost everything she says. It's also weird that they managed to make Nagisa stupid in an annoying way, considering her parents are basically the prime example of how to do stupid in an endearing way. This is probably because half the time you can't decide whether they're genuinely stupid or if they're just playing around. But it's done extremely well, and they're two of the funniest characters in the show. Every show should look towards those characters as an example of how to do dumb characters in a funny and entertaining way. Also, Nagisa can't do anything on her own. She accomplishes absolutely nothing in the show without Tomoya's help. He helps her start the club, he helps her study for the play, he admonishes her when she does something wrong, etc., etc. She does nearly nothing of merit. The only positive about her is that, other than being stupid, her personality is that of someone who cares more about others than herself. Perhaps I'd like Nagisa more if the show hadn't handled her progression with Tomoya in a completely stupid way. Remember before when I said that Fuko's arc wasn't just about Fuko? Well, the arc was also to give progression for Tomoya and Nagisa's relationship, since they basically acted as parents to Fuko, something Nagisa herself says in one of the episodes, which makes them both blush. There's also the occasional slight flirt in the arc, such as during the Maid Cafe part for the Founders Festival, where Tomoya tells her she looks the part. However, then the show starts the Kotomi arc, where Nagisa gets all but abandoned so Tomoya can follow Kotomi around everywhere. That's a good 5 or 6 episodes where Nagisa is hardly ever seen. Then the next 4 or so episodes focus on Kyo, Ryo, and Tomoyo, especially when Nagisa falls sick again. Then finally, after she recovers, it's made obvious that Tomoya has chosen Nagisa. So basically, there's a giant chunk in the middle that completely disregards Nagisa, despite the fact that she's the main girl we're supposed to like the most because she ends up with Tomoya. I said way back at the beginning that this could have been fixed with one simple executive decision, and that's to swap the Fuko and Kotomi arcs. Sure, there would have been a slight disconnect in regards to Nagisa from the intro episodes, but having Fuko's arc lead into the fact that Tomoya chooses her makes infinitely more sense than abandoning the focus on her right in the middle of the show. Of course, a few of the minor events that happen in each arc would have to be shuffled around a bit in order to fit the continuity, but it would have been worth it. Or you know what? They could have just removed Kotomi's arc entirely. It was just overdramatic ridiculousness that introduced the plot point that Tomoya knew her as a kid, which is information that never got used after her arc. It's like the director just liked Kotomi, so they decided to animate her route without any actual confession at the end. Anyways, my point is that it's important to care about the relationship between two people who actually get together, and putting a giant chunk of time where they hardly spend any time together right in the middle of the show is kind of a detriment to that. You know who should have gotten a legitimate arc instead of Kotomi? Tomoyo! Okay, that's just my personal bias speaking, but she's far and above the more interesting character. In fact, the show should have ended with them getting together. There's a reason that when Key decided to do a spin-off, they chose Tomoyo. Anyways, the only big positive I can give Clannad is that it was really funny when it wanted to be. It's not too big of a surprise. Kyoto Animation has always been good at comedy when they aren't so focused on moe. It almost makes me wish Clannad was a comedy rather than a romantic drama or whatever genre people like to call it nowadays. So I guess my positives are that the show is pretty funny a good chunk of the time, and Tomoya also helps carry the show. That's about it, but it actually made the watching experience pretty decent. It was just mediocre. And that's why Clannad is overrated.